We're going to talk with Corey Miller. Corey Miller is obviously, when you look at from 1991, 1998, played with the New York Giants, also spent a year in Minnesota playing for the Vikings. His son, Christian Miller, had a chance to spend 5 years here in Tuscaloosa. We're going to talk about that. Corey, it's an absolute treat. It's a pleasure to be able to talk to you. Welcome into the game in Tuscaloosa.
Hey, Ryan, thank you so much, man. I always listen to you, especially when I'm down in the parts of Titletown, and finally a pleasure to get a chance to be on with you and chop it up a little bit.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I want to pick your brain because I don't think I've ever featured a dad from a former player perspective. And let's go back to the recruiting process because I know Christian made his decision, but with a pedigree like yourself and understanding what it takes to play at the next level and development side of football and, just being more advised on seeing, like Irv Smith and his father played in the NFL and others that have chose Alabama. But I'm kind of curious the recruiting process. What was that like as you evaluate programs looking for that really good fit with Christian?
It was tough, actually, because when I got recruited, you didn't have all the social media involvement. Basically, coaches call you or, try to find out where you're at, and they go through grandmother or somebody in the neighborhood to try to find you. They'll show up at school. So things were a lot different for me, but with Christian, it was so busy. That sophomore year, he started drawing a lot of interest from doing a lot of the camps and of course, all the letters, and, we tried to really, scale it down to see where he wanted to go. Of course, automatically people thought, hey, you're going to stay in state. You're going to go to South Carolina and follow in your footsteps, but they didn't really recruit him that much. They never showed up at school, maybe one time. Steve Spurrier really didn't seem very interested. Brad Lauren actually offered him a scholarship, but Clemson actually was the first team to offer Christian a scholarship. And then we went down to Florida, Will Muschamp, where he committed early and then backed out of that commitment. So it was a lot of pressure for him, the letters, the coaches, the calling, the tweeting from fans, So, the thing that I always told him was, listen, wherever you decide to go to college and play football, become a student athlete, think of it as a 40 to 50-year plan. Think of a place you want to go, not just to go to school for academics, not just for football, but a place that you can say, I could live there for the rest of my life, for the next 50 years, whenever I'm done with football. And when we went to Alabama, it was just really a slam dunk. At the time, Chris Rump, who played with me at South Carolina, I knew who he was, and I got to know the staff, and Coach Saban, Coach Smart, these guys started really coming around, loved him. And when we came down to Tuscaloosa, he just fell in love with what it represented about the development, the training, the NFL history, all that Coach Saban brought to the program. And being that he was going to be a late bloomer, I thought and suggested to Christian that it would be a great place for him to go, sit back for a couple of years and learn and grow into the player that he is today.
How much did your opinion change? And you may have had a high opinion of Nick Saban. Obviously, being in football, you understand what's been able to be accomplished here in the 13 years, going into the 13th year in Tuscaloosa. But I'm curious of your opinion prior to Christian's arrival, and then maybe how that changed as you watch 5 years here under Nick Saban.
Well, a lot of respect. I mean, I always thought the world of Coach Saban and his success and what he's done. I kind of knew of him from the pros when he was Belichick, with Cleveland, Miami. I know a little bit about him, but as I spent time around this program and saw the love that he has for his players, saw the people that he brought in, the speakers, the commitment from the training staff, from the all the nutritional stuff, and every area was excellent. And, being around that for the 5 years that I was around it, seeing how he really ran his program was just amazing to me. And I tell you this, Ryan, I mean, it's not easy. He's a great coach. We know about the titles. But can you imagine dealing with 5 stars and 4 stars every single year and trying to demand excellence from these guys? And a lot of those guys have been around the program and has won at a high level, a high clip, SEC, the national championships, and to continue to keep them motivated. And for all the years that he's done that, it's really, really impressive. And the coaching changes. I think for me, the fact that they got back this past season to the championship game, maybe the most impressive job that he's done. Now, a lot of folks will say, hey, you know what, they lost and how they lost, but that's okay. When you look at the turnover, you look at the players that leave early, that go to the pros, and look at he has to insert somebody new every single year, and the fact that they can get through the daunting SEC schedule and get back for 4 straight national championship games. Listen, man, say what you want to. It's dang near impressive.
Well, it's fun to be able to watch this. And Corey, I've said this multiple times. I have the best job in the country because I watch these kids come into the University of Alabama and watching their dreams come true. And then I watch them develop. And I get this like bird's eye view. You know, I remember talking to Christian, and I'll tell you a quick story. I was interviewing him coming out of high school, and I'll never forget it. You know, he called me Mr. Fowler, which kind of made me feel old a little bit. And he said, I want to talk to you after we get done with our interview. This was prior to we starting on recording it. And I said, okay, so following the question, he goes, hey man, this was right when he was first getting recruited, maybe first getting offered. He said, hey man, what's the wildlife like down in Tuscaloosa? And I said, wildlife? What are you talking about? I mean, because, you know, most people are looking for, you know, what's the scene like? He's wanting to know what the bass fishing and the deer hunting and the turkey and all those. And I'm laughing because I'm like, it's great. It's awesome. And I wasn't lying, but it was like the only kid that ever asked me that, which was a fun question. And I'm kind of reminded of that as he loves the outdoors as much as I do. So it was kind of a perfect fit.
Oh, he's just that kid. I mean, he got into it in high school with his friends. They go fishing. I mean, he stayed going all day long on the pond, out on the lake fishing. And then he got into the hunting. He's killing squirrels and eating them. You know, I'm like, man, what are you doing? I mean, I was like, I would never do anything like that. But he loves it. It's his passion, and he's never been that guy, you know, that really loved the limelight. I can tell you this, Ryan, you talked to him, but, I mean, me and him had battles on recruiting trips. I'm driving, chauffeuring him around, and everybody's calling, you know, from the websites, and he hated that stuff. He always wanted to take the back seat, and, you know, he wanted to fly under the radar. That's his personality. He don't care about the limelight, and he loves to hunt and fish. He's going to give you everything he has, and he don't care if, you know, people are talking about him. And that's just the kind of dude he is, man, which I respect. At the success that he's had and the winning that Alabama's had, you know, he's been very, very just humbled by the entire situation.
All right, so here's the question. Say a dad, and I don't even think this is legal. I think this would probably be illegal, but we can record the segment and maybe we play this. But as a dad, okay, if I got a son and looking at what you know about football, playing in the NFL for the length of time that you did, and I'm looking at different schools, what would you tell me why they should choose Alabama? Why should they go play under Nick Saban in this NFL franchise that we like to call it in Tuscaloosa?
Well, it's an NFL factory. I mean, that's what every kid wanted. You know, when I came out of my little town in South Carolina, Payson, South Carolina, a couple thousand people, you know, everybody dreamed when you have success in high school and could go to college, well, I want to play in the league. Well, if you want to play in the league, if you want the best coaching, the best training, the best strength coach, the best nutrition system, the best academic, collectively, when you want, that's the number one place. I mean, listen, 30 players the last 3 years drafted into the NFL. The history is there. I talked to a lot of pro coaches. A lot of my friends are coaching in the NFL, and they said, man, it's a factory. Man, this place is a factory. And they tell me that Alabama football players are the most prepared at any other college when they get to the National Football League. And that says something about what Coach Saban and his staff is doing. I mean, I look at my son, and yes, when you talk about 5 years, Ryan, he graduated in 3.5 with his undergrad. He left there with his master's degree in 4 years. Didn't even have to go to school this past semester. He was a captain. I mean, he's a draft pick. Everything that every student athlete wants, he attained those things. And Alabama offers that. I'm a Gamecock. That's where I love the South Carolina Gamecocks, and they're trying to get to that level. Will Muschamp is doing that same thing, and he's definitely copying what Coach Saban is doing. He worked for him because it is the most successful program in college football. Yeah, everybody want to remember the national championship game. Kudos to Clemson. They won the game in fair and square. You know what? But if I'm looking at it right now from what I know, and I'm a kid doing this all over again, I'm going to Alabama because of what they bring to the table and what I know, not just great athletes, not just great students, but they leave there great people because he gives them every opportunity to succeed. If you don't succeed at that school, then you just don't really try.
Well, and it's one of the questions that I love to ask the upperclassmen. How do they see themselves changing? And Christian had a brilliant answer. We played it several times here when you look at development side of things. And they see it. I mean, listen, you said it early, the speakers that they bring in. I don't even know what money you could pay to hear the speakers that they bring in. just to be able to sit there, the psychologist, sports psychologist, to be able to the faith system, the FCA, and everything that they do here. It's just fun to be able to watch this system sort of develop. I'm curious, when you see you're sitting there at the NFL draft, what's that like for a dad going through that process of watching your son be, through the pro day and the NFL combine, all the different things? What's that like from a dad perspective leading into the NFL draft?
Well, I had a very unique position, Ryan. I'm very thankful to the Lord that Christian allowed me to help with the picking of the agent, had me to interview the several that we brought in, and then we narrowed it down, and his agent from Element Sports, Michael Parrott, basically, said, hey, we do a lot of personal coaching, and we pay for all of that. What better coach than your own father? You play the same position. You played almost a decade in the NFL. And so I resigned from my TV job, and I went down, and I was in Alabama every week and working with Christian on the field, getting him ready for all the pre-draft stuff. So I had a lot of time to spend with him and, get him ready because he's coming off that hamstring injury. So we knew that was going to be a little bit tough, but he ended up having a great pro day. But I can tell you this, man, I told him this before the draft, it is the most stressful day or days of your life. And as we sat there in his apartment and watching him, he did a great job. But as it got past day one, day two, we're thinking he's going to go, and his name's not called. We're thinking these teams are going to take him, and they don't take him because there's a trade. And I think I was more stressed out than he was. And I just sat there and I prayed, man, and I prayed. And I told the story. And I said real quickly that I had a dream weeks before that the Carolina Panthers drafted Christian. I called Christian early that next morning. I said, man, I had this almost a vision that you're going to play for the Panthers that next week here in Columbia, one of my favorite restaurants, Hall Steakhouse. Well, Ron Rivera showed up in the steakhouse out of nowhere. So he and I had a great conversation. He was telling me how much he loved Christian, even talking about plays that Christian made in certain games, why he liked him so much. And so that Saturday morning, I talked to his agent. I said, I think it's going to be the Panthers. I just feel like God showed me that for a reason. And when they called, man, it was just like I broke down and couldn't let Christian see me, though. I broke down and went outside and cried and just doing a Facebook Live. And it was just the most amazing experience to see something that, hey, you know what, I did it. And it's a once-in-a-lifetime chance to have a second generation of your family have that same experience. I can tell you, man, we're so blessed and just so thankful to the Lord for his opportunity, doing something I know he wanted to do and watch his dad do for a while, and now he's going to have that same chance. I could not ask for more.
And certainly your faith is very important to you as a player, as a dad. And I enjoy the inspiration that you provide on the Twitter account. You can connect with him, Pastor of Pain. But I love the faith standpoint that you tie and intertwine with your tweets and your conversations.
Yeah. Hey, you know what, man, I've learned, and I went through a lot in my life, Ryan, and like I said, coming from a family of 10 brothers and sisters, we didn't have anything, and all we had was faith. And, of course, I had my roller coaster years as an athlete, and I made some mistakes business-wise, financially. God redeemed me from that, and to the point where one day I was suicidal, man, and I remember what my grandmother Lola told me at 7 years old, man, my mother, that God had great plans for my life, and he was going to use me mightily. And so I've taken that whole thing, even with my son and my kids, to try to speak life, and not just to them, but other young men, to believe that, hey, you can do all things through Christ who gives you the strength. You can overcome any obstacle, any situation, nothing too difficult if you put your mind, heart, and soul to it. And I live my life. I'm 50 now, and I just promise God that I want to live the next 50 of impacting young men and men, husbands, fathers, to be great men, and of God, great men, husbands, great fathers, great people in our community. And we're living in a tough time, and I see what these athletes go through, man, and it breaks my heart, some of the stuff that I see. So, yeah, faith is it for me. That's all I have. I can't leave my sons millions of dollars, but what I can leave them is knowing who Jesus Christ is as our Lord and Savior, and hopefully they'll take that same baton and run with it and be a difference maker in their locker rooms and in the community.
Hey, Corey, can I ask you about Howard Cross? You had a chance to be a teammate with him for a number of years, and he's a friend of our program. We featured him a lot, and he's a North Alabama guy as well. What was your relationship with Howard Cross?
Man, Big Cross, man, that's my room dog, Ryan. I mean, we were room dog on the road for years with the Giants, and he was a tight end. I was a Sam linebacker, and we had our battles, man. He was a fierce run blocker with those big old hands. I called him claws, and he was the best cheater in football when it comes to holding. That's what I say by Howard Cross. He could hold you better than anybody and not get a flag. But what a great guy. I mean, I know he's doing some TV and radio stuff in New York. I love him and his family. And, speaking of Christian, me and him were always in Bible studies together with FCA and doing different things. And he's a great dude, man. And I know he's going to be proud when I talk to him that my son came through his Alabama program that he bragged on so much for years. And but he's my roommate every weekend on the road for the New York Football Giants until I left. And love him to death, man. And he's a great, great man.
Corey, what does it take to stay at the NFL? What does it take? I mean, because I think we see it and we see the NFL. What does it take body-wise to be able to play? I mean, you played 9 years in the NFL. Certainly Jerry Glanville's a guy that comes on and he always reminds us that the saying that he gave it not for long is the NFL, and it just takes a long time. But what is the key to staying there for the length of time that you did?
Man, I talk to kids all the time, and I tell my son this: longevity is tough. But now you got to understand. I told Christian this: you're the CEO of your business now. No coaches gonna make you do anything. You got to get up. You got to take care of your body. Nobody's gonna be over you like in college. And the key to it, Ryan, is taking care of your body. It's a race car. You can't put regular gas in a NASCAR car. You got to put some awesome fuel in that thing. So you got to take care of your body and treat it as such. You got to get proper rest. You got to continue to get strong. And one thing that I did, and Otis Anderson told me this, our running back for the Giants, as I got older, he said, lose a little bit more weight because you're going to get slower. Your body's going to get beat up. So play a little bit lighter so you can play faster. Other thing is stay in that film room. What makes guys like Luke Kuechly so great, he's a film rat. He can anticipate plays. When you can anticipate plays, you can play a lot faster. You know how to anticipate things. So you got to become a student of the game. So number one, though, is you got to take care of your body. What you put in that body is what you're going to get out of that body. You got to get rest. You got to study. You got to get in that film room. And then the last thing, which is the most important thing, the favor of God. I mean, because sometimes you can't help injury. Things happen, weird things. I was so hurt the other day to see Ruben go down with an ACL with the Redskins. I mean, you got to have the favor and the blessing of the Lord. I was blessed enough to play as long as I did. And, and I did all those things. But, you got to have the blessing of the Lord, too. It's a tough league. Get what you can get out of it. But, again, it will pay dividends for you years down the road, as it is doing for me today. So whether you play 1 year, 10 years, make the best out of it. And as I always tell my kids, whatever you do it to the glory of God.
Corey, thank you for spending a couple of minutes with us, man. I've enjoyed getting to know Christian, watching him through the recruiting process, having a chance to cover him at the University of Alabama, even spent a little time doing a little rabbit hunting back as we leading into the NFL draft. And don't tell anybody. I think that was probably illegal.
Well, hey, and when Alabama comes here to Columbia now, make sure you call me, and maybe I can take you out, get a bite to eat. I want to show you some South Carolina love. So I told Jeff and I told the coaches I'm going to be here. And they said, what sideline you going to be on? I told them I'll let them know when that time comes.
hey, listen, you guys know a thing or two about barbecue too over there, man. I mean,
Oh, yes, sir, brother. We got a new spot. Down here. Our home team barbecue just opened up. So when you come, man, please call me, and dinner's on me, brother. And I appreciate you. I appreciate the Alabama fans and Coach Saban and all his staff. I mean, it's just been so beautiful to our family, and it's been a blessing the last 5 years. And I just want to say thank you to all of you for being so kind to us.
Hey, no doubt. It's been fun to watch Christian and develop here at the University of Alabama. We wish him nothing but the best in the NFL. Corey, thank you so much. Hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you, Ryan. God bless you, man.